Advocates spent time speaking with teachers about their commitment and dedication to education and learning.
What you do is critically important. You know that, I know that. The kids certainly experience that. Never for a moment feel or think that you're not valued. Everybody may not show you how much you're valued, but you are and always will be.
Roxanne Beard, a 6th grade math teacher at Yorktown Middle School, will be spending her summer teaching at Sherwood Middle School. She says this is the first time the district has held a kickoff summer experience professional development event, and it did not disappoint.
I think this was very empowering for our teachers and then our staff that's working together. We don't know each other, so this is a chance that we get to collaborate and start building those relationships as well and talking about ideas that we want to see happen in the summer experience program this year.
Really, we have been really intentional about creating a professional learning experience that has teachers at our center.
This year's summer experience includes project-based learning focusing on entrepreneurship, family and consumer sciences, fine arts, STEM, and world languages and cultures.
And the reason why summer experiences are so critical is it provides the same content and cross-curricular learning process that happens during the school year. Students who, for instance, are participating in our STEM path with Franklin Park Conservatory, they not only get the science, social studies, reading, math, right, all of that content, but they're able to actually use it in a very real world experience type of fashion.
Summer experience starts June 20th and will take place over the course of 4 to 6 weeks.
We are grateful that Junior Achievement leaned in to support us in getting LeVar Burton here to support our staff.
Take a look, it's in a look, the reading rainbow. Give yourselves a hand on.
As a school district, it is mission critical for us to leverage the power of partnerships. Today, we have over 150 community partners that have joined hands with us to make sure that we are providing access to our families.
An opportunity to have a leg up and get those kids ready for school so that the first day they've got their bus pass, they've got their school supplies, and they got their backpack and they're ready to go. This fair means the world to all of us.
It really brings our community together. It really helps our families feel welcome and excited to come back to school. And this is the momentum we need to carry out through the rest of the year.
This event is actually amazing. There are so many different partners here. Every healthcare entity that we have is here, and we're all working together to be able to put everybody in one place on a beautiful day like this and just be able to identify and help everyone that walks through these lines.
To be able to reach 10,000, 13,000 people in one day is more than what we can do throughout the entire year throughout outreach. The diversity of the folks that are here, the amount of interest that people have in the Red Cross and all of our community partners is really encouraging and inspiring.
There is strength in partnerships, and we want Columbus City Schools to know that we are a partner both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. We share a common goal, and that goal is student success, and we want these students to succeed, and we would love to be a part of their success as they go throughout this school year and school years to come.
It just makes me so proud to be a Columbus City School graduate, proud of all the great teachers and staff of Columbus City Schools that are out here making it happen. And just really proud of all the partners that are here, from after-school programs, all the city teams that are here, really all kind of stacking hands, and I think showing the kids and families of this community that we're all in this together, and we're going to do everything in our power to make sure we have an awesome, awesome school year.
Family support is critical at CCS, and we have a wealth of resources for our families.
The mission of the Columbus Recreation and Parks Department is to connect the residents of this community through nature, wellness, and creativity. It's all about being able to reach the students as they are out in the community as well as in the classroom.
The growth of this city is going to be incredible, but we're not just interested in being bigger, we're interested in being better. And that's what today is all about, to make sure our kids and our families are successful. I think this is going to be the best school year ever.
It is our goal and a priority for us to support the whole child, which includes the whole school and the whole community. So we really want to provide those wraparound supports to our students and families and provide them with the resources that they need so that their students can come to school every day ready to learn and ready to succeed.
Hello to our entire Columbus City Schools community. My name is Anthony Miller, and I am a student at South High School. Before we begin tonight's Board of Education business meeting, I invite you to check out these highlights and updates from across the district.
Greetings and welcome to this week's highlights from across the district. 6 outstanding Columbus City Schools students, from second graders to recent high school grads, have clinched spots for this year's Columbus Department of Neighborhoods 20 Under 20 Award, recognizing remarkable young leaders for their volunteerism and advocacy. This award shines a spotlight on their community contributions. Honorees were celebrated last Saturday for their talents and impact. These students are earning applause for their dedication to creating lasting positive change in their communities. Kudos to all CCS students for their hard work in shaping a brighter future for our community. Students from Columbus Alternative High School, Eastmore Academy, Fort Hays, Independence, and Northland High Schools recently competed in the inaugural Just Right Ohio Columbus City Regional Tournament on December 2nd. In Divisions 1 and 2, participants tackled creative writing prompts. Fort Hays emerged as the overall grand champion. 6 poetry winners advanced to the state competition on May 9th, and creative writing winners will be announced in 2 weeks. Kudos to Fort Hays for their outstanding achievement. Score! Columbus City Schools Special Olympics squad is teaming up with Topgolf Columbus to swing into some sporting fun. Led by the dynamic Special Olympics coordinator, John Essen, our crew has already aced hoops and track and field. Now get ready for the newest additions, flag football, soccer, and the coolest of them all, golf. Ready, set, tee off for an extraordinary journey into sports for all abilities. Colerain Elementary students received a generous donation of 250 Chromebooks from AT&T. The excitement continued as COSI provided learning lunchboxes and conducted engaging science experiments. A heartfelt thank you to our partners for investing in the education of our youngest learners. A special congratulations to Carmen Pinter, Intervention Specialist at Northland High School, named Special Olympics Ohio's Educator of the Year. A role model, advocate, and champion, Pinter, driven by personal experience, ensures her students feel included and welcome. Her dedication to the school's Special Olympics program fosters inclusivity and community connection. On November 30th, Champion Middle School, Columbus Downtown High School, Fort Hays Career Center, and Afrocentric teachers received PRISMS training for secondary math courses in IVR. Each student-led module, with approximately 60 minutes of VR content, covers standards-aligned topics. A synchronous teacher dashboard enables monitoring and intervention during VR experiences. Offline activities support students in building mathematical connections for future STEM success. Our students are taking the lead. A huge shout out goes to Columbus City Schools. CCS has been named one of 9 614 Beautiful Grant Program winners. The district's Our CCS campaign will honor the neighborhood legacy of our district high schools with pole banners showcasing our school pride with inspiring messages. We're creating vibrant spaces that celebrate our community and empower our students. We are CCS. Embark on the Pathway Express this Saturday, December 9th at the Wexner Center for the Arts. Enjoy complimentary admission for students and families to explore diverse offerings, exhibitions, performances, screenings, educational programs, artist residencies, and more. As Ohio State University's hub for contemporary art, the Wexner Center promised an unforgettable experience. Stay tuned for updates on our next Pathway Express adventure and more chances to dive into the artsy wonders at the Wexner Center. Our CCS Transition Fair is set for December 9th. Explore opportunities for students age 14 and up at our Columbus City Schools Middle School and High School Transition Fair. Discover resources for transitioning to adulthood, including support for students with IEPs or 504 plans. The fair highlights programs, education, employment, independent living, and more. Join us in helping your students achieve their post-secondary goals. See you there. Our 2024 graduation dates are officially available. As graduation season approaches for our CCS students, and as they strive to finish strong, be sure to save the dates for one of the most momentous occasions in their lives. These have been highlights from around the district for December 5th. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening. I'm calling our November 28th. That's not the right date. December 5th, 4th meeting, 5th meeting to order. Please call the roll.
President Adair.
Present.
Ms. Beckerly.
Present.
Mr. Brown. Mr. Cole.
Present.
Dr. Pierce.
Present.
Ms. Reyes.
Here.
Vice President Vera.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members, on our agenda this evening, we do not have anyone here for public comment. We have one item on board matters. We are expecting a report from our superintendent's office. We have 2 notices of public hearing on reemployment. We have several hearings on reemployment of retired employees, and we have our consent agenda. We do not have any public comment on non-agenda items, and there will be no executive session this evening. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Are there any additions or changes? Seeing none and without objection, the agenda has been adopted. All right, we're going to open the meeting with a discussion around our board and community engagement. We know that this is a very important topic for us as the board, as well as for our community. We have tried a couple new things in this board year, and I wanted us to take a moment to kind of think about those and reflect as board members, and just share some, general feedback that you've heard from the community itself. We know that this is something, as well as we will hear from in the superintendent's report, that is a major strategy in 2024, and so we will be continuing to do that work, but I wanted to go ahead and just kind of have an open dialogue around this idea, around public engagement. Specifically, the strategies that we have implemented this year, such as going into the community, into our various regions, and having office hours for our community before those. So we're just going to take a moment to have that open dialogue and discussion. So I'll open the floor to any members that would like to share any comments.
If I may, Madam President.
Mr. Cole.
Thank you. I first and foremost have and will always continue to believe that the Columbus City School Board of Education is one entity. It is one entity that has any number of factions that operate and or govern it, but we are one entity. The idea then is that I think that where there's mutual opportunity to make appearances between the board and administration, that we show up and show out as one, that we come collectively in support of each other, particularly when meeting and engaging with other elected officials. We are elected officials. I don't say that with any measure of hubris, arrogance, or narcissism. I say it very, very seriously that, as a part of the elected body of this organization, it's highly important that we never allow the administration to go meet with other elected officials without the necessary support of our presence. I think it's just something that is good governance on our part and a good showing of strength on our part. So with that in mind, again, we are one organization. I think that we should take every opportunity to mutually support each other in community events, and particularly those with other elected officials. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. Other comments, thoughts?
I've got a couple.
Go right, Beckerly.
Board meetings out in the community, great. Need to keep doing it. It's really important, and that's has to come necessarily with the expression of deep gratitude to all the people we inconvenience. But I think being out there is important. I think we've got just about 1 year under our belt, and continuing to do it will generate more interest in the community as we go to their various spaces. I think office hours an hour before the meeting are really good. I think we need to do a better job of advertising them. And it occurred to me that before we do public comment here, we should have a sentence or two that says, please know that the other way to engage with us on a regular basis is before the board meetings, where we'll be able to engage in, this public comment is to hear publicly, for you to state your comments, but meaningful two-way and authentic interaction or two-way engagement occurs before every meeting, and just say it over and over again. And other ways we can maybe emphasize that. Third thing, I think that we should consider, well, not we, you, seating a very short-fused ad hoc committee out of the blocks next year that's charged with specifically coming up with an engagement plan for the board that does two things. One, figures out effective socialization of the goals and guardrails, how to get that out into the community and make sure all the stakeholders understand that and all of its nuance and its implications for better governance and better outcomes. And the second thing would be more general cadence of engagement that is designed to get to all different categories of stakeholders. And I think that that committee needs to have certain leaders from the community on it, and they need to be engaging with others within the community to find out what their recommendations are. But I think that short fuse and concrete, this is the plan as the deliverable. And that's what I think.
Other comments? Vice President Vera.
Thank you, President Adair. I echo part of Board Member Beckerly's statement in terms of our committee structure. I think that is going to be really key for us as we are in this final phase of just evaluating what that's going to look like for next year. Really wanting to lean in on aligning those structures around our board goals and our priority areas, but also thinking through like our application process to making sure that community members that have a desire to serve in those capacities, that we're clearly communicating as to what that process looks like. So being able to really dive in and identify what is our process moving forward, in addition to communicating that process, I think that's going to be another piece for us, in addition to holding ourselves accountable just for timelines and deadlines. Another area I also really enjoyed this year is being able to be in our school buildings more for our board meetings. I would love us to consider making that like a permanent thing. I know that will be a huge lift, but I do think there's power in being in our buildings and being able to see our students, our community as a whole. So being able to move all of our board meetings is something I would like us to consider into our buildings next year. And then looking at our policy around public comment, I know that has been a challenge for us in terms of making sure that we do provide adequate time for community members to come voice their concerns, ideas, opinions, in addition to office hours, but looking at ways that we can be more meaningful with that experience so that when people do come and give public comment, we are able to, just to give them more of a space to have more dialogue and follow-up opportunities. In addition to just continuing to, do what we've been talking about for the past year or two in terms of just being more inclusive, finding more opportunities for us to go into our community as well. So going back to Board Member Beckerly's conversations about a possible ad hoc committee, but really just being able to follow up and follow through with the community members and partners we presently have.
Thank you. Other comments? Hi, welcome, Board Member Brown.
Welcome. Are we in that 20 minutes that you had set aside?
Yes.
Oh.
We're talking about public engagement and kind of reflecting on this year, thinking about, what we'd like to see, what went well. Do you have any thoughts on that?
One thing that occurs to me is that we need to do much better, more complete and quicker response to our public records requests. Just spoke this afternoon to Nana, who still hasn't received all of the requests that she had asked for. I don't know what the holdup is or where things stand, but she tells me that there are two parts, I think, the hotels and the airfare that she has not yet received. And I know she was here a week ago and not happy then. So I think treating those with priority and making sure people are served is important and can help us with community engagement. I don't know, and perhaps Tina reported it, but in terms of the, Christina, in terms of the number of people showing up for office hours, obviously we need to look at that number and make sure that it's enough that it's worthwhile. certainly the ones that I've attended have been generally better than what I was expecting. And if they are doing well, I know certainly those people that do show up appreciate them. And I'm hopeful that maybe more people will turn up to make sure that they're worthwhile. Just in response to what I heard at the end of Christina's comment, I think that moving the board meeting every month, or rather every meeting, to a different school, I understand the attraction for doing that. But I also think that we need to keep in mind the burden that places on administrative staff and others who are setting up, taking down, and all of those things. And secondly, this space is equipped to be able to do what we need to do instead of sitting on top of each other and having sometimes bad acoustics and the other kinds of issues we have. Just think it needs to be thought through. I don't know that I would give it more thought, but I don't know that I'd want to support going out to a different school every meeting. Otherwise, on community engagement. Again, just being available, I think is important. Responding to emails and texts and comments and things from people, and questions from people. Doing so as quickly as we're able and accurately, not overstating what we as board members can do. And I know we've gotten much better about that in the past year. But saying, here's where we can get the information that you need, and but responding quickly. That's all off the top of my head. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Reyes?
Thank you. Yeah. So I think when we go out into the community, it's important for us to have meaningful topics. Excuse me, I'm recovering from a cold. For them to be able to come. When we did these a few years ago, we had almost the same result, that they are something that is nice for some people who are available, but having a particular topic that people would want to engage in might help in getting people to the meeting. So that really goes hand in hand with understanding what our community defines as public engagement. So a lot of times organizations say, well, I'm going to do this, this is what we're going to do, and then you come to us versus us asking and understanding. Because from what I've heard from the community is them wanting for us to communicate. They want to understand what is it we're working on, what is it that we're working on that's going to impact them and create a change for them. So I would think that that's what they would want to come and hear. If just like we did the FMP, the reason we got people out were because we were asking them exactly, they wanted to know what was going on, they wanted to have input, they wanted to understand how they could get engaged. So how do we communicate, when do we communicate, where do we communicate? I think that's just as important as us trying to do a tour of the district. How do we become more available as individuals to the public, if that is what they want? I also agree a little bit with Board Member Cole in a different way. I think one of the reasons we kind of, aside from setting our goals and guardrails, one of the reasons we kind of sunset our public engagement is there was an actual coordination by the district to have a public engagement district strategy. So how do we bring both of those together so that we're not duplicating, so that we're doing things together? We all have, most of us have full-time jobs, some of us have 2 or 3 jobs, and other boards we sit on. So we rely a lot on the district to help. So aligning resources, aligning time where it makes sense for us to be present, where it makes sense for it to be coordinated, I think would put our resources to a better use.
Dr. Pierce?
So one, to our leadership, thank you for providing time for this conversation to happen, because engagement is important. Engagement is a fundamental element of ensuring that our democracy is moving forward and representing all people and all voices. And so I think it's great that we are providing time and space for this discussion. So echoing what some of my colleagues have said, I think we need to definitely go back and revisit board policy 0169.1, and that's the public comment, or kind of our public participation at board meeting. We implemented a number of changes in 2021, and so I think it's always good practice to go back and see, is the 3-minute standard that we've come up with a good allotment of time? Do we as board members understand when and under what circumstances should we extend that time so community members have longer time to speak? And then, of course, as individuals have said, just making sure that that is an authentic way to capture our community's feelings and sentiments. I think also in that vein, and again, board members have said this prior to, making sure that we look at our committee structure, so that relates to policy 0155, if it is re-implementing a public engagement committee, or, as has been stated, making sure that we have a diversity, a variety of voices at the table when it comes to our committee structure. So again, we have a good pulse on that public engagement committee, meaning that we understand how to meet the needs of the community and that we are in a very good faith effort moving to meet those needs. I think when it comes to the public records request, again, evaluating that policy 8310, to make sure that we are allotting enough time for our administration to get all the documentation necessary, and that there is a feedback loop. So when those requests are made, that we as board members are informed that those requests have been delivered, or the timeline in which those requests are delivered on. When it comes to the community meetings, I think it is a good idea to rotate the meetings, whether we have a topic that is pertaining to an important issue in that community. Some of our communities are really dealing with housing affordability. Some of our communities are really dealing with food deserts. Some of our communities are dealing with not a lot of daycare and early child education centers. So those topics can be galvanizing topics that if we as a board, as a district are discussing them, then definitely find ways to go into that community. But also, I think hearing student voice is so important. And those meetings give us an opportunity to meet the students where they are. We're going into the buildings where they are, so they don't have to necessarily find transportation in an Uber to get way out here. We need to go meet them where they are. And through that interaction, we're getting an opportunity to be in the buildings that they're in, to sit in the chairs that they're sitting in, and then again, most importantly, to hear their voices. Now, what I would challenge us to do as a district, as a board, is to think about, how are we marketing those meetings? Are we inviting local organizations that are in those neighborhoods and saying, hey, we're going to be in your neighborhood. Can you guys come and set up a table so you can talk to local families, so you can talk to our administrators, so you can meet our board members? So how are we engaging the entire community, not just that school building, not just the students that are in that region, but truly engage the entire community, so we hear not only student voice, but community voice. And then the last thing that I'll say is that when it comes to our community meetings, we want to make sure, again, that we're getting the diversity of what our neighborhoods and regions have to offer. Oftentimes, I absolutely love hearing from our superintendent's ambassadors. but we all know that we have a variety of little people and older people in this district. The trees behind me are from Scottwood, and they had a phenomenal literacy night. And when I tell you that those students were so articulate in explaining why they love going to Scottwood, we also need to hear that elementary student voice. Some of our preschoolers, we need to hear their voices, our middle schoolers. And so as much as possible, if we can make sure that when we are lining up who's going to speak, who's going to present, that we are showing a true diversity of what our district and community has to offer. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with a lot of those comments. I think from, being out in the community a lot this summer and fall, I think, when defining what public engagement means is really important. The feeling I get is that our community wants to be engaged in the work. And I think kind of echoing some of what Dr. Pierce said, committees and the work and who's on committees and going into the community with that work is incredibly important. Bringing them, like Board Member Reyes said, around specific topics will bring people to us and bring their expertise of the community, because that's really how we advance the work. So I'm looking forward to what we would call authentic engagement, doing more of that in our community around the substantive work of the district. I also think that there's an opportunity, echoing Dr. Pierce, on bringing community into meetings, but also showing our community how government works itself. And so just like the example around housing and the taxes, taking opportunities to work with our sister government around big issues where there's overlap between our constituencies, I think is really important to our families. So being able to authentically engage in a bigger picture around more systemic issues in the community, but doing it more strategically between elected and elected, and bringing the power of our governments together. I did really enjoy going into the buildings and seeing our students. I wish that more community would have been there. It's normally the same people that are out here that are in the auditorium, which I love y'all. But and I think that is a thing around marketing and just understanding, and to the structure of the meetings. One thing that Vice President Vera and I talked about was, should that meeting be and feel different? Should it be like a regular business meeting? Should the business meeting be like in this space and we do more community involvement, engagement, and it feel a different way when we go into the community? So I think that that's something to continue to look at. I think that what I heard, there was a commitment that we all are definitely on the same page about continuing to work on it. We know that it's important. We know we need authentic engagement. We know we need to come to the community and meet the community where they are. And that includes all aspects of our community. Our children, our parents, our faith-based, our social organizations, all levels of our schooling, and all of our cultural communities as well. And so we know that that is all critically important. So I thank you all for that dialogue. I know Carl was taking notes because we are going to be working on that in the next year. And I just wanted to give us space and time to kind of debrief about our thoughts so that we could have a great start moving forward. So thank you all for your comments, and more work to come on that. We'll now turn it over to our superintendent for her executive report.
Thank you, President Adair, board members. In addition to the highlights that we had this evening, I wanted to share just a high-level overview of some very important work that's going on behind the scenes in the district to keep everyone abreast in terms of what we're working on to move the work forward. Again, thank you for the opportunity to take time for us to share some updates on the district's short-term priorities, along with illuminating my long-term vision and future planning efforts. As you know, I believe we must always prioritize classroom instruction, and my number one priority is and always will be ensuring that our students are receiving the best education from our teachers and staff across the district. In addition to educating our students, we are focused on engaging the community, increasing transparency, and engaging in outreach that supports the overall success of students and staff of Columbus City Schools. Our current short-term priorities are as follows. In order to position the district to its current needs, we are revamping the existing strategic plan to align to board goals and guardrails, along with my vision for the district. In some instances, we've already made progress. In November of this year, new and updated board goals were approved. In December, at our next board meeting, we will approve of the new interim goals. It is our goal to have a new and updated strategic plan in place by the spring of 2024. In addition, we are currently working on designing an equity-based school resource allocation model. Again, this work is part of one of our guardrails. The work is in flight. We have partnered with Education Resource Strategies, who will provide an update to our board and community on the design of the model at our next board meeting, and that'll be on December 19th. So you'll hear more about that. Again, I'm just previewing some of the work that's going on behind the scenes that certainly aligns with our goals and our priorities. The Equitable Resource Allocation Pilot will take place for the 24-25 school year, and an iterative improvement and full system rollout will occur in school year 25-26. And I also want to highlight and just shout out our Treasurer's Office for working with us on this work and making iterative improvements in their office to align with our equitable resource allocation model. So they'll be talking more about this, but our transition to Allaview to have full transparency in terms of what our budgets look like, that is key, an integral part of being able to allocate our resources in new and different ways so it aligns with our priorities across the district. In addition, we are excited to be starting a family university, bringing the classroom to community starting in January 2024. So much like what you were just discussing about community engagement and the need to make sure that we are coming to our community and working with our community and bringing the resources to them to support meeting our goals and guardrails. This is a new strategy that we'll be lifting up beginning in January. The monthly family engagement series is designed to provide families with tools and resources to support the academic success of students. FAMU will work across departments using school improvement plans, board goals, and district priorities to help families advance student achievement. We'll also be creating superintendent advisory boards of stakeholders to help inform decision-making for the administration and guide our community engagement efforts. We want to ensure that our community has an active voice. A thriving school system, as we all know, is the bedrock of any community, and a vital part in achieving that is having community members' voices at the table to assist with how we make decisions and how we interact with our stakeholders. Thinking about the transition of some of the decisions that we made a few months ago as we were transitioning and looking and reviewing our priorities and our programs that were on ESSER. One of those strategies is our Columbus Online Academy for the K-6 program. I have had an opportunity to meet with the teachers, but we want our community to know that this will be ongoing conversations and dialogue with the staff as well as the students and their families. Official messaging to the families regarding support for transitions to other schools in 24-25 school year will occur prior to winter break. So we'll make sure that we're getting ahead of any lottery process to make sure that they know what their options are and how we will be engaging with them to ensure that they're well informed of their choices. And beginning in January, support meetings will be held with all the families to provide resources and additional assistance with those school transitions. In addition, as you all know, that there were a few key senior level positions that were vacant, particularly the chief of IT, and that's a position that has been vacant for some time. We will be working on selecting and posting that vacancy so that we can backfill for that position, as well as another key position, the Chief Operating Officer. So more information to come on that. I just want you all to know that those positions and the need to fill those shoes and that work is certainly top of mind for us, and we'll continue to move forward with all of the processes to make sure that we are searching for, again, additional talent to fill those vacancies. As we all are aware, ESSER funding will be sunsetting. We are actively planning for all employees to transition off all ESSER-funded positions across the district. The goal is for all employees to be notified by the end of January with next steps and instructions. So all of the employees who are currently on ESSER-funded positions, they are aware of that, right? So this is not notifying them that they're on an ESSER-funded position. This is notifying them of the process as they're transitioning off of ESSER funding. We are also currently creating a list of stakeholders to seat School Consolidation Committee, as we have talked at the board table and in our retreats about the need to move that work forward according to board policy number 7105. We will certainly be prepared when the board is ready to announce that. We'll be prepared with our part in terms of some suggestions and recommendations to move that work forward. And again, as we look at our vision statement for the district, I would like to take the time, just a few minutes, to reiterate how our number one priority is educational excellence across the district. And as a superintendent, I'm constantly assessing what it is that's needed and what's required for CCS to become and to continue to be a world-class district that provides multiple pathways for student success across the district. We will be working to move the district to a portfolio model to clarify and align academic offerings and to ensure our facilities are designed to support the academic programming. It is very important that our academic programming guides those decisions and serves at the forefront of all of those decisions. To do so, we know that this will mean a smaller school footprint. Programming in elementary, middle, and high schools will be aligned by feeder patterns, which increases the likelihood of increased student outcomes and engagement. We also want to stand up career academies at all of our high schools that prepare and propel our students for college and career. The Career Academy model provides all students with the workforce preparation that connects the classroom, the school, and the community. The programming supports the needs of the whole child by addressing the emotional and mental health needs of our students while linking students with peers, community partners, and assets. This is done in an academically disciplined environment that fosters student success. This strategy will require us to reimagine the educational experience for our students and transform teaching and learning in an effort to ensure that all students across our district have access and opportunity to experience work-based learning experiences that prepare them for the workforce opportunities of tomorrow. This directly correlates to the need of aligning partners to the needs of our students and schools. And in addition, by identifying and evaluating and adjusting current programming that leads to improved student outcomes, we are ensuring a beneficial return on investment. We will be learning more, leaning more into program evaluation, along with establishing an annual report of the impact of our major program and investments across the district. As we work to improve community engagement collectively, the board table, administration, across the district, we know that transparency of resource distribution, how we're allocating our resources through the equitable allocation of resources, will continue to explore new efforts, such as community access to school budgets, making that information transparent. Like step one, we're working on making sure that the budgets are readily accessible and transparent internally to our teams. but that truly should be the experience of all users, not just staff, but community members. If you are looking at your neighborhood school, the website on for the school website, you should be able to also pull up the budget right there and know how the resources are being allocated to support the needs of each school community. So again, that's where we're going, where we want to be, but there's work that's happening each day in our district to get us there. And again, there's ways that we can think about how we expand that work and accelerate that work in future years, but certainly the goal of that is to increase trust and transparency within our community. So I just wanted to share just a few updates on some of the work that's happening behind the scenes to continue to move the work forward across the district. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Are there questions from the board?
I guess I have a quick question.
Dr. Pierce.
The Family University, is that, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but if I recall correctly, didn't we have something like that in the past? T Street was very key in that. Is that in the similar vein?
So this is a new strategy, but all of our strategies, we continue to look at what has been successful in the past and build on that, so that, again, we continue to provide access to our families based on content that is relevant and much needed, and bringing the resources to our families instead of having them come to us. So it is certainly expanding and building on successful strategies that we have implemented in the past.
Awesome. I think that's great. From my understanding and experiences with that program, it was very successful, so I'm very happy to hear us returning to that.
Other questions?
Just a point of appreciation. Thank you. Just a point of appreciation about particularly being curriculum-focused and student need-focused in terms of driving our investments, and where we're looking at maximizing opportunities academically for children. And I look forward to being a part of those conversations, particularly around facilities and how we're going to modernize Columbus City Schools. In addition to that, I know that the Treasurer's Office is in the workings at this point in time right now about modernizing our continued, and let me be redundant, our continued effort to be transparent. We have been that. We've been that in any number of ways, but I look forward to the opportunity to modernize and give, as you stated, a more in-depth look on a building-for-building basis at where we are making the expenditures on behalf of our children. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to ask or say, I'm not sure the word is transparency. It's all the way when talking about the budget, because the budgets are out there. They're just hard to find and hard to understand. And so it's about making them accessible to all levels of the organization in a readily available way. We are very transparent with our money and our resources on the treasurer's page. It's just sometimes difficult.
The financial dashboard that's on our website that is a direct connect into our ERP system, all the data's there. It's just a big, huge, massive data dump that's very hard to manage and very hard to pull data out and actually meaningfully interpret what you're looking at. So yes, we're trying to figure out a much better way to provide that in a way that's more user-friendly to both staff as well as the community. So yes, 100%.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you all. And we'll stick with you, Jenny, since you're already talking. Do you have anything from the treasurer's office tonight?
I do not have a formal report, just to point out we have an FAC meeting next Wednesday, the 13th at 5 p.m. here. Will be the last one of the year, obviously. We've got a November report as well as an update on the ESSER information are the two primary points.
Thank you. Chair Cole, do you have anything to add?
No, ma'am.
Right. Mr. O'Connor, anything from the auditor's office?
Nothing from the auditor's office this evening.
Okay, Chair Beckerly, anything to add? Okay. All right, we're going to move down into item 8, which is notice of public hearing on reemployment of retired employees. We have two tonight. The first is Trenisa G. Ball. Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 3309.345, the Columbus Board of Education gives notice that Tranisha Ball, who retired from Columbus City Schools effective May 31st, 2023, as a teacher, is seeking employment with the Columbus City Schools as a teacher, effective January 24th, 2024. The board will hold a public hearing on January 23rd, 2024, at 6 p.m. in the boardroom at 3700 on the issue of Ms. Ball's reemployment. And the second is for Linda L. Kennedy. Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 3309.345, the Columbus Board of Education gives notice that Linda Kennedy, who retired from the Columbus City Schools effective May 31st, 2023 as a teacher, is seeking employment with the Columbus City Schools as a teacher effective January 24th, 2024. January 24th, 2024. The board will hold a public hearing on January 23rd, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the boardroom at 3700 South High Street on the issue of Ms. Kennedy's reemployment. We will now move into to item number 9, which are the public hearings on reemployment of retired employees. The first is item 9.1, the hearing on reemployment of retired employee Andrew Burnham. No one has signed up for that hearing, so that hearing is now closed. 9.2, public hearing on reemployment of retired employee Marcia L. Conley. No one has signed up for that hearing, so that hearing is now concluded. 9.3, public hearing on reemployment of retired employee Alice T. Munnerlin. No one has signed up for that hearing, so that hearing is now concluded. And 9.4, public hearing on reemployment of retired employee Carla L. Young, person. No one has signed up for that hearing, so that hearing is now concluded. We will now move into our consent agenda. This evening, our consent agenda consists of items 11.1 to 26.10. Are there any items a board member would like to remove for separate consideration? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Are there any items the board member would like to discuss? Dr. Pierce.
Specifically 26.7, which relates to a donation for Centennial, their weight room and uniforms.
Authority to accept a donation from the Bruning Foundation, 26.7.
Is that what I said, 26.7? Yep. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So specifically, what I would like to request is that, again, we have a presentation from our administration as it relates to spending around athletics and the donations that we are receiving for athletics. So this particular donation is, of course, improving Centennial's weight room, providing uniforms. We had a similar donation for South High School maybe 2 years ago. President Adair, you went to kind of christen that room. And so I'm seeing that some rooms, some high schools and maybe some middle schools might also be getting this, but they are getting weight equipment where some of our schools are not. I'm reminded of the young lady that came and spoke very passionately about the track at West High School. So again, just bringing this to the level of attention that we have an equity concern as it relates to how some of our facilities are being improved versus others. And so, again, would just request that this information is brought to the board so we can take a more global look at how we are accepting those donations, what schools are getting items versus which schools are not, versus which programs are getting donations. I'd also like to bring to the attention of the board that I had the great opportunity to go to Independence playoff game at Afrocentric and came to learn that the students in the band don't have adequate music equipment over there, that they don't have adequate uniforms over there. So again, I would really appreciate if we could have a conversation and receive information from our administration as it relates to athletics and our extracurricular activities and funding throughout the district.
Can I ask for clarification?
Yes.
It's about donations, not how the district allocates resources.
Well, I'm also interested in how the district allocates those resources because there's a couple of ways we could look at it, right? So donations are to potentially help to supplement what we provide. Mm-hmm. So I think at one level, we need to have an understanding of what we're providing and why we might be accepting these donations. But then the other way of looking at it, too, is also when we accept these donations, how are they supplementing what we're providing? Is there an initial baseline that all schools have as it comes to some of these resources? And I think there's a number of different ways to look at that without me going too
Thank you. I'll just share that again, we are in the process of looking at an equitable resource allocation model, and to date, we do not have equitable resource allocation. Hence the investment in this area as it relates to academics, as it relates to extracurriculars, as it relates to athletics. To support our goals, we need to move in a direction where we are allocating our resources in equitable ways that ensures that all of our students, regardless of their zip code, poverty level, demographics, specific needs, have the resources that they need, and that is not the case across the district or in any individual school across the district. In addition, we, again, as part of our recent ballot initiative, for the first time, we have now long-term investment in resources to allocate, to even have an allocation to support athletics. Athletic fields, space, that has not been the case. There's only been one-time funding, which means we spread the resources out like peanut butter. Everybody gets a little bit, not what they need. And so now we're in a place, and we are well-positioned as a district to be able to assess where we are in terms of how we allocate resources. You'll have an update on the next board meeting, and that's across the district in every area. And now we have the resources under the PI fund to support being able to allocate those resources. And in addition, we know that as a district right now, we are unfortunately spending more of our resources on operations than to support instruction and our student outcomes. That we have named as a challenge and a systemic barrier to improving student outcomes in our district that we want to address. So I just want you to know that I'm naming it, that if it feels like it's an inequitable distribution, I'm naming that is our reality, that's where we are, and all of our actions, including some of the updates that I provided tonight, I want you to know that we recognize the need and we are doing the heavy work and the heavy lifting to change that narrative.
I appreciate that, Dr. Chapman. I appreciate your passion around getting us to tangible, equitable outcomes for our students in our schools. However, I think when it comes to informing the community about that, so I look forward to you presenting that information to the board. If we could also make it accessible so it's online for community members to be able to, I don't know, click on that video and see the presentation, to hear directly what schools have the new weight rooms, what schools are in line, and what year to get new weight rooms and additional equipment, that would be great. And I'm focusing on weight rooms right now just because it's related to weight rooms and uniforms. Community members, I understand that it's also about chess, it's also about the power of the pen and music and theater and all these other programs. So we want information on all that. But I think at the board table then, our challenge is as we get these donations, what can we do, or how can we support the superintendent and the district in their work to ensure that these donations are being distributed throughout the district in an equitable way?
I think we might need to look at policy around that, because we've asked that question several times over the years about donations in general, and how they are distributed and how they come in and how it's selected. And so it goes along with what Dr. Chapman said. And, it is something I think that we will definitely be working on this upcoming year through that equitable resourcing as well as academic programming.
I appreciate that, and I think for us to be very creative and inventive about it. Like if we have this organization that's given one school $10,000, maybe our policy is that 10% of that is earmarked for the entire district. So 10% of that $10,000 might be allocated to help another school within our district. I mean, we have the ability to look at our policies very creatively. So just ideation.
Do you two, is it this topic or a different one? It's this topic. Okay. Beckerly, then Brown, then Cole.
I think that we have to be careful about using donations as the jumping off point for this overall discussion about equity. I mean, I appreciate Dr. Chapman naming it and naming it so eloquently. I think that was nice, but, well said and appreciative and spot on. But I think that whether or not to accept a donation, because this happens periodically, seems to be a jumping off point to have this equity discussion. We can schedule the equity discussion, but I think unless Dr. Pierce is suggesting that we should not accept the donation, I'm not sure that we should go down this equity, because we can't control that certain alumni, certain organizations, certain whatever are going to want to say, I want this to go to Centennial, or I want this to go here. And I don't know that this is a productive way to handle the equity problem.
Member Brown.
Thank you. Just as I raised my hand, my colleague, Dr. Pierce, got to the point that I wanted to make, and that is that when we say athletics and we use that term, it's really shorthand, I think. Maybe I want to confirm that it's shorthand for all co-curricular activities, and that we treat arts and music and all of the other co-curricular activities as on par with athletics. And just a reminder that those areas are important and also need to benefit from our moving to equity.
Member Cole.
I just want to second that. I agree that we should have a full, robust look at all co-curricular activities. We've had students who've done august work in the space of theater, what have you. To the issue, though, of donations, the complexity, again, is around, first and foremost, our policy that is also, in a way, subscribed to what state law allows or doesn't allow, particularly as it relates to sharing those resources with charter schools. So there's some unique nuances and things that are impacting our ability to properly receive donations and distribute them. So I think, yes, it begs the question to have a deeper conversation about that. The other side is that there have been some ways internally that some of our staff have actually conceived some very flexible ways in which to work around that. And I think there is opportunity to figure out how we maximize that space as well. So I don't want to continue on. I think that this is a further conversation in the future. Thank you for raising it, Dr. Pierce. Let's just be aware of what the nuances are and what our real obstructions are outside of our own policy that we have to keep in alignment with the state law.
Thank you. Thank you, members. Are there any other items members would like to discuss on the consent agenda? Seeing none, please call the roll.
President Adair?
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Dr. Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Vice President Vera?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I will just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Oh.
I could simply make one brief announcement.
Okay.
The Governance and Policy Advocacy Committee meets next week on the 13th of December at 8:30 in the morning, right here. And you're all welcome to join us. We do have quite a bit on the agenda, and I'm hopeful that we'll get to it and then be able to present that at the December 29th meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for missing you there. Okay, so there's
All right.
19th. 19th.
No, 19th.
Okay.
There's a motion and a second.
There was.
There was. So we are now adjourned.
Thank you.